was walking on the park in Paris in France at the time, and I read something about bipolarity, about bipolar disorder. And then I called my mom and I told her, like, maybe that could be what I have, because I started to see like some high and lows, and she almost cried. And so I went to see a psychiatrist, the second one. They both diagnosed me with bipolarity, and then I was like, okay, now I know, but what do I do? What do I do with this information? Like, how do I manage it?
Welcome to Pick My Brain, the podcast where we help startup founders improve their pitches to better connect with customers, co-founders, and investors. My name's Alan Jones, and I'm an ex-startup founder myself, but now I'm an angel investor with decades of experience helping new businesses find their way and achieve their goals. But first, I'd like to acknowledge that this podcast is being recorded on Gadigal land that was never ceded. I pay my respects to their innovators and leaders, past, present, and emerging. On Pick My Brain, you'll hear the real story straight from founders as they pitch their startups, tackle the challenges we all face, and turn their ideas into a successful business. Each episode, we'll see if I can help these founders take their startups another step forward, with advice, ideas, and maybe a little constructive criticism. Thanks for joining me. Let's get started.
You're listening to a Day1.fm show.
Wondering how your AppSec program really stacks up? Galar Cyber's application security assessment gives you a quick 10-minute pulse check built around the 5 core principles of AppSec: inform, integrate, influence, innovate, and iterate. In just 10 minutes, you'll get a clear snapshot of your maturity across each of these principles, along with practical insights you can put to work straight away. Head to galarcyber.com.au/assess and take the assessment today. That is galarcyber.com.au/assess.
Today, we're joined by Clement Baissat, who is a founder of mental wellbeing startup HopeStage. Thanks for joining the show, Clement. How are you?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks, Alan.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Clement, clearly you weren't born in Sydney. When you were a kid growing up in France, what did you think that you wanted to be when you grew up?
Actually, like, I remember that from really, really young, I was saying to people, like, I want to do business. I remember, like, I've been to Australia when I was like 16 to live for 3 months in a family. And I wrote this essay, and I laugh about it. It was about like me wanted to take the decision and not follow the rules, kind of. Mm-hmm. So I was already into like the starting a business, starting something to solve problem, I think.
Cool. And what were you doing immediately before getting started with HopeStage?
Actually, I was diagnosed just before. So I was working in another startup to develop a new product. Mm-hmm. And before that, I built 2 startups in B2B. So one in B2B SaaS that is working pretty well. Mm-hmm. And the other one was a digital agency. But I went bankrupt. So I was like depression, bankruptcy, and then I was diagnosed as bipolar. So not the funniest moment of my life.
No.
But
I'm sorry that happened, man. That sounds like it was quite a crisis point in your life. And for the benefit of our audience, I think now is probably the best time to talk about the fact that what HopeStage is a platform to help people dealing with the fact that they now understand that they need to live with a bipolar disorder. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
I have some familial experience with living with bipolar, and I know that I would say perhaps a larger percentage of the startup founder community exists with either diagnosed or undiagnosed bipolar symptoms. Has that been your experience too?
I think, yeah, if you look at the percentage of startups, I would say we are on average more present into entrepreneurship, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like neurotypic, so ADHD, bipolar is usually like more common. Yeah, that's the case, I think, yeah.
So when did you begin HopeStage?
Was in 2022. Mm-hmm. So basically, like, I can tell you a little bit about my journey. I think it's important because it's really related to what I do. So I did my first depression. I was like 19 years old. I didn't know what was happening to me. And for like 10 years, I went through up and down, like started companies, like quit job, like within like 30 minutes without knowing what it was. And so basically, I remember this day. It was a tough moment of my life. I was like, so COVID 2020. So I had to stay at my home because of COVID. And I was having a digital agency at the time. So 13 people, I went to depression. Then I couldn't work. I couldn't just do the job. And then I had to fire everyone, just went bankrupt. So it was a low point for sure. And then I was walking on the park in Paris, in France at the time, and I read something about bipolarity, about bipolar disorder. And then I called my mom and I told her like maybe that could be what I have, because I started to see like some high and lows, and she almost cried and told me that I had some family who had bipolar, but they were ashamed of telling me because they were ashamed of what they had.
Mm.
And so I went to see a psychiatrist, the second one. They both diagnosed me with bipolarity. And then I was like, okay, now I know, but what do I do? What do I do with this information? Like, how do I manage it? I took a job in the startup because I wanted to settle a little bit. But like 2 years later, I started Upstage, like just trying to fix this problem. Like, how do you recover and how do you do it with a higher percentage of success? And so building each of those steps. So hope stage is like basically the stage of hope, because all of us, we go through those different stage, which is like understanding what you are and what's happening, what are your triggers. So we do it through your media. And then you have acceptance. So accepting that you're different, that you cannot drink alcohol the same way, that you have to take treatment. And so we do it through online community, training, and talking group. And after you did those two, then you need basically support. And then we do tailored support. So we work with psychiatrists, psychologists to build your team and build your system to basically manage your difference and find your stability.
It looks like when I go to hopestage.com, my French is really just primary school French, but it looks like you have a large and growing community there of people using HopeStage as a support. Can you give us a sense for how big that community is now?
Yeah, so basically, so most of the people now are French. It's about 83%. So it's like, so it's different things. So there's the media, which have like million of views. And then the online communities is about 6,000 people. So it's a Facebook group, which is really active. And the training and talking group, we train about 3,000 people. But the live and talking groups, because like in the training, you have like a full training, which is free. And then you have also like webinars with psychiatrists and peer helpers. So people also have bipolar. And we do 8-week program when we help you with 2-hour session, like really like go deeper and do the work, like build your action plan for depression, like what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, how you're going to share it with your family and your friend. So whenever you see something happen, you can prevent this depression from happening. And so this is really new. We started in April and we trained, I think, 130 people or something for the moment. And we are finishing the second session in a few weeks. So that's what we have. And now in English, there's also a website in English, but it depends on your navigator. I don't know if you saw it or not.
I didn't find it, I'm sorry, but I'm sure it's out there. And in that case, how many English language users do you have now?
It's almost none for the moment.
Okay.
It's like, so it's upstage.com/en. But it's like most people, like they put their navigator in a language and then we just show for this language. But if your navigator is open to other language, which is sometimes the case, it's really rare, that you will be in French.
Cool. You're here now in Sydney at Fishburners, I believe, and so is your mission to now grow a Hope Stage community in Australia?
Yeah, exactly. So we're doing it step by step. So we've launched a podcast. So we're doing an event next week, actually, with psychiatrists and partners to really like what do we need to work on, and because I'm learning how does it work here, what are the needs, what can be done, and also so we have the podcast which is launched, social media starting to be set up, and then we are working on the online training. So for the moment we're just going to do video training. We won't start the live, at least not this month, maybe in a few months. And then find a few customers. We have two, so it's the beginning for the tailor support here, because that's basically everything is free outside of the tailor support. So we basically, our goal is to say you want to do it yourself, we want you to have the possibility to do it, and we're going to give you all the tools to do it. Then if you want us to do it with you, then you just pay and we take you by the hand and we do it with you.
Okay. For the benefits of the capitalists in our audience, how much are you asking them to pay to get your help?
So it's 1,800 a month. And then what we do is we build their own system, because everybody has to build what works for them. And that's the toughest thing about it, because we're all different and we all need a different psychiatrist. We all need a different treatment. We all need a different psychologist. And so what we do is we use technology and we build the person's own tool. And so we do one-on-one session every week. We record everything that's going on. So with the psychiatrist, the psychologist, we analyze the data, and then we find a way to properly move forward step by step. So, and we believe a lot into coming back to the pillar of health. So the pillar of health, if people want to know, is sleep, nutrition, hydration, sports, socialize, and light. And basically, most of the problem we have are linked to this problem. So if you go back a step back and you fix your sleep, you're usually going to sleep everything else.
People who work for Hope Stage, how many of them do you have on the team now?
So actually, there's an NGO in France. And so in the NGO, we are let's say 7. There's some people works, but just a few hours a week. But it's so mainly on the online community, and sadly on paperwork, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
because you just need to get money from foundations, this type of thing. So, and in the company, I'm alone, but I'm working with freelance. And so it's really so one side business, but I don't have the money right now to hire other people. So you have to do it in one way, and you have to help people in one way.
Cool. Clement, will you establish an NGO here in Australia as well, or will it just be a private company?
I think I will go for a private company, because I did the NGO thing, and I think it's not, it's too slow for me in the way I try to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm begging for money all the time. And I did it for a few years, and we help hundreds of thousands of people, so it's great, but I don't think I want to do the journey again.
And what kind of data or research are you able to point to show potential backers, customers, that Hope Stage is effective in helping people?
So we work with a lot of psychiatrists, and especially one of them, she's Dr. Barbara Combe, and she has been working with bipolar people for like, I don't know, 30 years or something. And she did work and did a program in a hospital in the south of France, in Toulouse. And so she helped people like on their way to rehabilitation. And she found, so she did it for 10 years, and our program reduced relapse by about 40%. So I'm not going to go into detail, but it's around that. And this program is the foundation of what we do in the training and in the talking group. And so that's what we use. And it's really about like, how do you digitalize this program, and how do you use like scientific study to go forward. And right now it's like there's a lot of new stuff coming on. But what we found that if you can just help people accept, understand, and find the right psychiatrist, psychologist, and build their plan, it's already like huge. And I think we are doing much more than the 40%, but we don't have medical study yet, so I cannot like give numbers that are not fully true.
Okay. Clement, if we have Pick My Brain listeners who have been listening to us talk about Hope Stage and would like to find a way to support you, or find a way to get in touch, to consider becoming a member of your community and benefiting from the Hope Stage offering, what's the best way for them to do that?
I would say just contact me by email or LinkedIn. Email, I respond for sure. LinkedIn, sometimes I don't go there as much.
Okay. Well, look, we can publish your email address in the show notes, and make sure that our subscribers see that. And in the meantime, perhaps people can get started by going to hopestage.com/en. So that's HOPESTAGE.com, hopestage.com. And if you want the English language version, then /en. Clement Baissat, thank you so much for coming on the Pick My Brain podcast today. I think you're doing something very important and valuable for the Australian community, and I think I speak for us all when I say thank you.
Thanks a lot, Alan.
Thanks for joining me for this and every episode of Pick My Brains, the advice podcast for every startup founder. Thanks for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, never mind that don't forget to like and subscribe bullshit that every podcast host goes on about at the end of their show. Instead, see if you can take a moment to think about someone you know who could benefit from some of the advice we've discussed on today's show, and tell them. Maybe they'll listen to it, maybe they'll like and subscribe. I don't really care, but my producers do. So that said, I'm not a lawyer or an accountant, and what you've heard today is not intended as financial, legal, or psychiatry advice. And you should always seek that from a qualified professional before making big decisions. I'm not a superhero either, so don't forget that sometimes I'm fallible, and very occasionally I might even be wrong. But please let me know when you think I might be, so I can get better at this too. Just reach out to me at any of our social channels, or email the show at pickmybrain@startupfoundercoach.com. That's where you'll find me. And that's also where you might find some of the show notes from time to time when I get around to it. Because I don't get around to it very often, the Pick My Brain podcast is produced, edited, and beamed directly to your ears by the hardworking and understaffed team at Day One, the podcast network for startup founders, operators, and investors. Find out more about us at day1.fm. That's day1.fm. Clement, thank you so much for coming on the show today, mate. Really enjoyed meeting you.
No, it was fun.
Thanks for joining me for this and every episode of Pick My Brains, the advice podcast for every startup founder. Have you been listening to the show and wishing you could ask for a little advice about your startup? Well, here's your chance to do just that. We're trying something new and you can be part of it too. Leave me a voicemail message with a question you'd like answered in a future episode, and I'll do my best to give you the best advice I can. Just go to speakpipe.com/pickmybrain and leave me your most pressing question, request, or just some feedback and support for the show. Go to speakpipe.com/pickmybrain or follow the link in the show notes.